get another VCAD dot point. So fitness components are defined as definitions and factors affecting aerobic power, agility, anaerobic capacity, balance, body composition, coordination, flexibility, muscular endurance, power and strength, reaction time, and speed. So you'll note here that it says aerobic power. Hopefully you guys are well aware of this, but it is aerobic power as opposed to aerobic capacity. The reason I say this is because if you look at previous study designs or old exam papers or even old textbooks and things, a lot of them haven't updated, and so they still say aerobic capacity. I just want you guys to really make sure that you don't do this in your exam. Make sure you say aerobic power, okay? Because you actually lose marks if you don't write down aerobic power. You write down aerobic capacity instead. So make sure you know it's aerobic power and anaerobic capacity. Yeah, so just keep that in mind when you go back to past exams and things. You can see here that they kind of list these 12 fitness components, and you actually have to know them as divided into two separate categories. This is something I didn't realize in high school, and so I didn't learn this for a long time. But you must know that there are health-related fitness components and skill-related fitness components, and test questions do test this. They might ask you to identify two skill-related fitness components. You might accidentally do the wrong ones. So just a bit of a guide as to what a health-related fitness component is. This is something which is like deemed beneficial to the general public. So it's something which we think the whole general public should have some kind of like base level of, okay? So we've got things such as aerobic power, body composition, flexibility, muscular endurance, and muscular strength. And these are all health-related fitness components. Make sure you know these. My class and we came up with like some mnemonics. I think we had FAB-MM, which is kind of a random mnemonic. But these acronyms usually help me remember stuff. So just kind of remember, flexibility is really important for the general population. The general population must have some level of flexibility. We must have some level of aerobic power. We must be able to like walk for a certain distance or jog for a bit, Body composition, maintaining a healthy fat to fat-free mass ratio is really important in just being healthy in general. Then we've got some level of muscular endurance, and muscular strength is also necessary to maintain your general health. In terms of skill-related fitness components, these are typically components which are more designated, they're more important, for elite athletes. And so the general population doesn't really need a really amazing, muscular power or a super fast reaction time or speed. These are kind of designated for people who are elite athletes, and it may be more important for them if they have a particular sport which is relevant to this. So we've got agility, anaerobic capacity, balance, coordination, muscular power, reaction time, and speed. So making sure you also know these. I find it's easy just to remember these ones, FAB-MM, and then just know everything else belongs in the skill-related fitness components. FAB-MM is health, because it's fabulous to be healthy, or something like that. Stuff like that, like stupid mnemonics, they always help me. So just coming up with something quirky or strange often helps me remember stuff. Just knowing that the rest of them are skill-related. And you'll notice I've got them in muscular order as well. Alphabetical order. Yeah, also that helps me sometimes. I don't know, when I'm coming up with mnemonics for my med school stuff, I often put stuff in alphabetical order, and I go, okay, I know there are 2 A's, 1 B's, something like that. If that helps you, do that, work on that. Okay, so I'm going to be working through each of the 12 fitness components. There is quite a lot of writing on the page and quite a lot that I'll go through, so I'll probably discuss each dot point here in a bit of detail and kind of identify relevant points which you may need to know. So yeah, I'm sorry, there is a lot to go through, but that's okay. You guys can pause me or fast forward, double speed me. So for each of the 12 fitness components, we need to know a definition and be able to explain some factors that affect performance levels of that component. So we've got aerobic power. This is arguably the most important one. It comes up really often in the exams. I'd recommend if there's one you know well, you know this one well. So aerobic power, what is it defined as? It's defined as the maximum rate of energy production from the aerobic energy system, i.e. energy produced in the presence of oxygen. You have to know this definition. You have to memorize this definition. I need you guys to shut your books, turn your laptop off later on and go, okay, I know. Aerobic power is the maximum rate of energy which can be produced in the presence of the aerobic system. that is really important. I also want you guys to understand it's the maximum rate. VCA is a bit sneaky sometimes, and sometimes they put in questions where they go, like it might be a multiple choice question as to what aerobic power is defined as, and they've got another answer which says the maximum amount of energy production. This is wrong. So it's not amount, it's rate. And my reasoning for this is we live, right? Like right now we are living. If I'm going to go walk or run for a bit, and well, right now I'm just like sitting down, I'm consuming lots of oxygen. I'm getting sufficient amounts of oxygen. As a result, my body is producing energy using the aerobic energy system because I'm getting tons of oxygen right now. I'm not exerting myself too much. I'm getting sufficient amounts of oxygen. This is the rate of energy production. I'm continuously producing energy, right? It's not a finite amount. If it was a finite amount, it would be the amount of energy production. Because I'm still living, right? I'm continuing to live. I'm continuing to use this aerobic system, and we always continue to use the aerobic system even when we are like running or exerting ourselves because our bodies will use all three systems. We are like continually producing energy. So it's a continuous rate of energy production, okay? So it's really important that you guys understand this. It is rate of energy production. Okay, that was quite a long tangent. Just understanding we're continuously producing energy, therefore it's rate, not amount. Because that might save you a mark in the exam. So some factors can affect our aerobic power as individuals. So some of these include cardiac output. And so this is determined by heart rate and stroke volume. So a faster heart rate can increase the amount of aerobic power we have, because a faster heart rate can mean that blood actually gets to the working muscles a lot faster. Therefore, that blood can actually transfer that oxygen bound to hemoglobin to the working muscles and allow these working muscles to use that oxygen a lot quicker. Okay? So stroke volume is the amount of blood which leaves the left ventricle per beat. Okay? And heart rate is the amount of beats per minute. So making sure you understand that Q equals SV times HR is cardiac output, and understanding the factors which can affect it. So you might also state, an increased heart rate can increase aerobic power, or an increased stroke volume can increase aerobic power or cardiac output. Making sure you understand that theory. We did discuss this previously, so if you don't really understand cardiac output, I recommend going back and downloading previous slides as well, because we did discuss these things a bit more detail in acute responses. Something else to note here is that number and size of mitochondria can affect aerobic power. I also teach biology, and I have been teaching biology since like 5 years now, right? And I do biomed and medicine, and I need you guys to know that the mitochondria is not the powerhouse of the cell, and to never write this in an exam, okay? Because VCA doesn't know what that means, and if you write that down on your bio exam, you won't get any marks there. So it's really important that you guys know that mitochondria is defined as the site of aerobic cellular respiration. Aerobic cellular respiration is where we produce aerobic power, right? That's where our muscles get that oxygen and they start using it to undergo respiration, produce energy, or ATP energy, right? So it's really important that you guys can see that mitochondria are literally the location where aerobic power occurs. If we don't have a lot of mitochondria, our aerobic power will be quite small, right? If you have only a few mitochondria, we'll only have a few sites where we can actually produce aerobic power, or produce ATP energy aerobically. So mitochondria are really important. So once again, understanding that mitochondria are the site of aerobic cellular respiration. Something else which can affect aerobic power is age. So it peaks around age 25 to 28. So after this, it does start to decline a bit. What this means is that often people who are within this age range, they have like the most effective aerobic power. So if you are to run a marathon, 25 to 28 might be like the peak age to do it. It could be to do with your like muscles developing, or mitochondria, things like that. A lot of bodily systems may be more prone to malfunction later on in life. But yeah, just knowing that this age is important, it can affect aerobic power. So anything below that might not be your maximal rate of aerobic power. Gender can also affect aerobic power. So males often have a larger amount of muscle mass, and this muscle mass may mean more sites for mitochondria. Therefore, they've got an increased amount of mitochondria. Therefore, they can produce increased aerobic power. But yeah, just keeping in mind that it is due to other factors also. Okay, body composition. This is a relatively easy one to remember. It's pretty much the proportion of fat-free mass compared to fat mass. It's kind of like a ratio. And so this, once again, is a health-related fitness component, as is aerobic power. Some factors which can affect body composition include gender. So females typically have a large proportion of fat-free mass, just genetically. Age, so babies are often pretty chubby because they need a higher amount of fat mass in order to allow them to keep warm. So as you get older, you will actually start to lose a lot of this brown fat. But then, like as you approach older age, your body might store some more fat as well. So it really depends on age. I think it is fine just to say age in the exam as a factor which can affect body composition. Genetics is another one. Some people are predisposed to actually carry larger amounts of fat-free mass or more lean mass. So some ethnicities do carry larger amounts, or some genetic predispositions can lead to greater amounts of fat-free mass or greater amounts of lean mass. It really just depends on genetics. Diet's another really big one. So this is usually something which is quite controllable, I guess. So if they're asking for something which can be modified, it's a modifiable factor. So diet is a really good one, and exercise too, or participation in physical activity. These are both modifiable factors which can affect the amount of fat-free mass compared to fat mass that an individual may have. Cool. Okay, so if you have any questions about that, pop them in the chat. Just keep putting questions in as you think of them, and I'll keep replying. Just gonna take a quick drink before we move on. Okay. Flexibility is another health-related fitness component. This is one which I find annoying, I guess, because I can't even touch my toes, and people are always really surprised to know that. And it's just expected that most of the population has some general level of flexibility, and I feel like I'm just failing at this health-related fitness component. Anyway, this is defined as the ability of a joint to move through its entire range of motion. Okay, make sure you know this definition. It also comes up quite often. Factors which can affect it include age. So children are generally more flexible than adults. Gender is another one. So females are typically more flexible than males. Joint structure. So it really depends on which joint. So you'll know that your shoulder joint is a lot more flexible than your knee joint. So it really depends on ball and socket joint or a hinge joint. These different types of joints have different levels of flexibility, and it's just kind of like an anatomical thing. Body temperature is another one. So this is it's kind of a fun concept to explain. So when you are moving your body, you do actually have, you might need more ATP energy, and so you have more chemical reactions occurring, and so this will generally heat up your body or your body parts and limbs a bit more, and so kind of a warmer body temperature means your body is a bit more flexible. So yeah, body temperature is another one which can affect flexibility. We've got static and dynamic flexibility. I don't think we're talking too much about these today, but one of them is whereby, so static is where you hold stretch, and one of them is like you keep moving it through its full range of motion, which is dynamic. Muscular endurance, another health-related fitness component. It's really important you know it's endurance here, which is a health-related fitness component. We might have one more. Muscular strength. Cool. Yeah, because as you can see here, endurance and strength are both health-related, meaning that we as a general population, we need to have a baseline level of this, or at least kind of like sufficient levels, okay? Whereas muscular power is something which is deemed more of like a skill-related fitness component, and it is kind of more important for elite athletes, maybe someone who does like weightlifting competitively or something like that, okay? So you must understand that we have to know muscular endurance and muscular strength as health-related fitness components, and it is also more likely to come up. These health-related fitness components are more likely to come up in the exam, just generally. Like you might not get lucky, you might have reaction time as a big one on the exam, but generally, the trend that I've noticed is that these ones come up more often than the skill-related ones. But these ones are very important, and agility and anaerobic capacity do come up pretty often too, as does muscular power. Anyway, back to muscular endurance. So what does this mean? It's the ability of muscles to perform repeated contractions over a long period of time. So factors which can affect it include type of muscle fibers. So you've got fast twitch and slow twitch muscle fibers, and these have different effects on your performance of muscular endurance. You've got lactate tolerance and fatigue, and gender. So in terms of lactate tolerance, this is kind of a callback to some of the stuff we studied previously. So lactate and lactic acid are metabolic byproducts. So after we use our energy systems, we often have lactate building up if we've used our anaerobic glycolysis system. And so this lactate is often like falsely accused as being like the main contributor of fatigue. Lactate itself doesn't cause fatigue. Making sure you guys understand this. So lactate itself doesn't cause fatigue. Neither does lactic acid. So what does cause fatigue is the hydrogen ions, which are associated with lactate. Okay? So hydrogen ions, often known as H plus ions or H plus molecules or protons if you're a bit of a chemistry student. These are like the main culprit for fatigue. So they kind of get into our muscles and interfere with the acidity of the areas, and because these reactions are governed by enzymes, enzymes really prefer a particular pH level, and interfering with the acidity can kind of mess with this and lead to a reduced ability to contract efficiently. Okay, so it's really important that you guys know that hydrogen ions are the main culprit for this fatigue, not the lactate. So the hydrogen ions interfering with the acidity, creating an environment which is not conducive to enzymatic reactions and therefore impedes upon the muscular contractions, causing fatigue. Gender is another one. So males typically have more muscle mass than women. As a result of this, they probably have an increased, not probably, they may have an increased ability to have a greater muscular endurance. But it also depends upon training, building up your muscles, atrophy or hypertrophy, stuff like that. So these factors can affect, doesn't mean they will affect. So another health-related fitness component is muscular strength. This is defined as the peak force that can be developed by a muscle. So factors affecting it include the area of muscle. So if you've got a larger area of muscle, you've got a lot more contractile fibers, which can actually create a greater muscular strength. So all those fibers can like build up the strength or the peak force before they actually contract properly. So a greater area means more muscles actually contributing, therefore you've got a higher amount of strength being produced. Contraction type is another one. We don't really discuss much about this in high school. It is something you'll look at in physiology or anatomy and uni if you do decide to go through with that. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to discuss that. I don't think there's much point. You don't have to memorize all of these. I recommend knowing about 4 of them just from each category. So knowing full flexibility ones. We only have 3 here, so I guess no 3. But yeah, there are quite a few on a page. Just try and keep 3. I'd say 4 just to be safe in mind. Speed of contraction. So if the contraction's faster, all those muscle fibers are creating that peak force at the same time and creating a fast contraction, which can develop in a greater muscular strength, which is good. But as they build up, they'll have a slower build up often. So it's kind of like a slow build up as they all kind of bind to the actin and myosin filaments. You don't need to know these words, just kind of anatomically or physiologically the background. They all, like a slower contraction may mean that they have more time to build up and like have a high tensile kind of strength, I guess, or high contraction force, and then they'll contract. But if you do it too slowly, it's not effective. If you do it too fast, it's not effective either. So there is like a certain effective or optimal zone. Once again, you don't need to know this. You really just have to know these words. Area of muscle. This can affect muscular strength. Age. This can affect muscular strength. If you know what age is the peak, you might want to put that down, but you don't have to know much detail about any of these. So age, I'd say about like 25 to 30-ish is our general muscular strength peak force age. Once again, you don't need to know too much about that. Gender, males have generally a larger muscle mass than women, which may contribute to an increase in muscular strength. And we've got muscle fiber types. We've got slow and fast twitch fibers. So fast twitch fibers are generally involved in quite like short bursts of muscle usage, I guess. So things like a shot put, this would need a fast twitch muscle fiber. Whereas something which is quite a long, slow event, like a cross country or a marathon, is often engaged the use of slow twitch muscle fibers. And so if you're working on aerobic power, right, slow twitch muscle fiber type, or slow twitch muscle fiber type A might be quite effective for that, whereas fast twitch muscle fibers may not be as effective. So really knowing that there are different types of muscle fibers which can dictate which fitness component they can affect or beneficially help. That's a weird sentence, which they can help. Anyway, in conclusion, these 5, I think it's 5, it is 5, are really, really important for you guys to know. These are the health-related fitness components. You must know the definition, and you must know at least 3 to 4 factors which can affect them. I know it's easy to go, yeah, I'll remember that, I know what this is, but it's really difficult to memorize like the huge amount of content you get in PE. So I would recommend making flashcards out of these. I know Quizlet isn't really great anymore. I think it's like a paywall, but literally just taking these slides, copying and pasting muscular strength on one side and having the definition on the other side, and like using a free flashcard generator online is really effective. And you can just print it out and like glue it in half. And yeah, I think that's really good. I made tons of like paper flashcards in high school, and I found that really effective for my learning. There's also Anki. I don't know if you guys can. I've actually changed the logo for it, but it's a really effective flashcards app. It is pretty difficult to actually get a head start on, and I didn't really use it till uni, not even till like my second or third year too. So it's pretty confusing to get set up, but once you do, it's quite effective. You can get it on your phone too. It also costs $40, which is pretty annoying, but I think paper flashcards are the most effective ones for high school. You get little rings at like Officeworks and like staple or hole punch holes in your flashcards so you can put them all in a ring and just do them in the car. So whenever I was driving to school, or my mother was driving to school, I just like do the flashcards in the car and just revise my, I did a language in high school, so I revised my like vocabulary and like definitions and things too. So yeah, in conclusion, using these flashcards can be really effective at helping you remember this, because you have to memorize, I don't want to say this entire lecture, but yeah, you kind of have to do that. So in addition to all the other ones we've done as well, and more content too. So making flashcards is good. Literally just look up free flashcard generator program on Google and just copy and paste these words. You must know the factors affecting as well, so you might go what factors affect muscular strength on one side and have, you know, your 4 favorite factors from each component on the flashcards as well. Okay, if you've got any questions about the health-related fitness components, pop them in the chat right now, so I'll have a look at them before we get into this next bit. Just take a drink right now. I'm hoping this is recording. It'd be a bit sad if it isn't. And we've still got plenty of time. Okay, so now we're working on our skill-related fitness components. So agility is one of our skill-related fitness components. It's defined as the ability to change direction in a fast and accurate manner. You might say something like a fast and controlled manner. Something like that is perfectly fine, but making sure you do have a definition very similar to the ones I've given you on these slides. So some factors which can affect agility include reaction time. Obviously, if you react faster, you're able to be more agile and change direction quickly. Another one can be cognitive ability. So agility generally occurs in response to a stimulus, such as a tennis shot or an oncoming tackler. Being able to recognize the stimulus is an important part of agility. So, sorry, just for a second I thought me. Okay, surely it's working. I think it's working. I'm really paranoid it's not recording. Okay, it is recording. Good. Okay, sorry. Cognitive ability. Yeah, so obviously you need to be well aware of what's going on in the game to make sure that you are actually engaging with the stimulus or responding effectively. So, you know, if you see a tennis shot coming towards you, you might have to like quickly sidestep and like swing your arm back and hit the ball. So being really aware of your surroundings and the stimulus as well is important. Things such as concentration can also affect agility. So if you aren't concentrating, you're not going to be agile. If you are, you know, tired perhaps, that might also affect your agility. You'll see there are only 2 factors here. Generally, agility is not something that comes up as like, name 3 factors, because we don't usually discuss 3 factors. So really understanding that our health-related fitness components are definitely really important to know factors which affect it, because they're more likely to come up in the exam. So agility generally involves the whole body and occurs in open skills. So just to call back to what we did previously, so open skills are skills which are performed in unpredictable environments. So things such as in the ocean, like surfing or swimming in the ocean. A tennis game, that is an open skill because it is an unpredictable environment, because your opponent may hit the ball and it may come towards you in such a way that you aren't able to like predict it, okay? So it's an unpredictable environment. Soccer, basketball, all of those. Whereas something like serving in tennis, this is a closed skill because you're completely in control of the ball, in control of your body, where you're going to hit it. It's completely predictable and it's like self-paced as well. Okay, I think that's enough for agility. In terms of anaerobic capacity, this is the total amount of work that can be done using the two anaerobic energy systems. Once again, different definition. Just make sure you know that. Write that down in your flashcards and revise it consistently. So factors which can affect it include gender. So it is a fitness component which depends on amount of muscle mass. So having a greater amount of muscle, if you are of a certain gender, may mean that you can work anaerobically more efficiently. And type of muscle fibers is another thing. So proportion of fast twitch to slow twitch muscle fibers. So fast twitch fibers will generally be more beneficial for anaerobic capacity as opposed to slow twitch muscle fibers. Okay. Another skill-related fitness component is balance. And so this is defined as being able to maintain equilibrium whilst either stationary or moving. So factors which can affect balance include change in location or body position and center of gravity. So we did discuss this quite a while ago, but in order to modify your center of gravity, what you can do is kind of crouch down lower toward the ground. You can also, if you're in a location such as the ocean, it's quite hard to maintain balance, whereas if you're just standing on the floor in your bedroom, it's probably going to be quite an easy environment in which you can control your balance. Things such as increasing your base of support may also increase your balance. So widening your base of support so your legs are further apart can also increase balance. Lowering your center of gravity and ensuring that your line of gravity is through the center of your feet, or your body is kind of central through your line of gravity. Okay, finally we have coordination, and so this is the ability to perform motor skills smoothly, efficiently, and accurately. Okay, so things include practice, cognitive ability, concentration as well. Nothing much here, but yeah, making sure you do understand those factors. Okay, moving on to muscular power. So I mentioned before we've got muscular endurance, muscular strength, and muscular power. Something which I found quite tricky in high school was actually memorizing all three of these. So I would recommend writing down, making flashcards of these. Perhaps if you're doing paper ones, having them literally in front of you and kind of looking through them and comparing the difference. So muscular endurance is sustained contractions over a period of time or sustained repetitive movements. Muscular strength is the peak strength force which can be developed within a period of time, just the peak strength which develops at a certain time. Muscular power is the rapid exertion of a force over a quick period of time. Okay, so it's a very quick movement, I guess, a rapid exertion of force. Factors which can affect it include the speed of contraction. So faster speed means a greater muscular power because this is a rapid exertion of force. Muscle size, so larger muscles means more contractile filaments can actually be engaged, and as a result you can actually increase your muscular power. You've got muscle fiber types, so fast twitch muscle fibers will increase your muscular power as opposed to slow twitch, which are not useful for muscular power, not as useful. You've also got age, so 25, 28, 30, that kind of area is typically the age in which you have an increase in ability to actually exert a greater muscular power. And then we've got gender, so once again, males who may have a larger muscle force or muscle mass may have a larger muscular power force. We've got a bit of a complex looking formula here at the bottom. I'll just kind of work through this a bit slowly so you guys can kind of absorb it. So muscular power is basically the explosive aspect of muscular strength. So we know that muscular strength is when we can kind of develop that peak force. So muscular power is the explosive aspect. So it's the ability to exert that force rapidly. So power is the product of strength, force, and the speed or velocity of a movement. So power is equal to force times velocity, okay? You don't really have to know that. It might just give you a bit of background. It might help you better understand this. I think the best thing to do is just really compare muscular endurance, muscular power, muscular strength, and have them in flashcards and just kind of lay them out and look over them, read over them in your head, and just compare them. Cool, so we've got reaction time. This is the time taken for the body to react to a stimulus. And so some factors which can affect it include the number of stimuli and concentration. This is a really sneaky thing which VCA does sometimes as well. So an increased reaction time is bad, okay? If I say I've got an increased reaction time, this actually means I'm slower, whereas a decreased reaction time is good, okay? I'll work through that again in a second, but I'm just going to look at the factors again. So in terms of reaction time, if you've got a ton of stimuli occurring at the same time, it can be quite overwhelming for your body. So if you're like getting ready for a race, so you're doing the 800-meter race at Athletics Day, the stimuli which you will react to is the gun, right? But if there's like fireworks going off and there are like people cheering and it's really noisy and like lots of noises which sound like the starting gun, you might get confused. And so if there are a ton of stimuli, it can be quite difficult to actually have a fast reaction time. Concentration, so if you are like concentrating on the gun, if you are focused on watching the person with the gun and watching it go off and hearing it, concentrating on it, you will have a faster reaction time generally. They don't usually ask more than 2 for reaction time. A lot of these skill-related ones don't usually ask for more than 2 factors which can affect it. But if you are stuck, just think of things like what can affect your concentration. Perhaps, amount of sleep you got the night before or cognitive ability, stuff like that. This can affect your reaction time. Make sure you understand an increased reaction time is bad, decreased reaction time is good, because a decreased reaction time means you react in a smaller amount of time, which means you're faster, which is good. Speed, how fast the body or a body part can be moved from one place to another. So speed is determined by distance over time. So it's speed equals distance over time. Factors which can affect it include number of muscle motor units recruited. If more motor units recruited, then you'll probably have a faster speed. If you have got the fast twitch muscle fiber type as opposed to the slow twitch muscle fiber type, you'll also have a greater amount of speed, whereas the slow twitch ones are more conducive to long, slow events such as cross country or marathons, stuff like that. Gender, once again, this is really down to the muscle fiber type. So males may have a larger amount of muscle mass, and perhaps more fast twitch muscle fibers, which may mean they are faster. And then age. So once again, like 20s to 30s is like that peak age, whereby our speed is as fast as it can possibly be a lot of the time. Also noting that this is a unusual definition. So if I ask you like define speed, you might just say how fast you go. But you must like write out this, how fast the body or a body part can be moved from one place to another, or point A to point B at any given time. Something like that is approved by VCA and is accepted, and is an acceptable answer. So make sure you guys understand that. Okay, be aware of this document on the VCA PE page. I might go to that at the end and open it up and show you guys what it looks like. So what it is a document which it literally says advice for teachers, but it's also advice for students, I think. I think it's really great. So I'm pretty sure it's been updated for 2023 as well. What it has is a list of these terms and then the VCA approved definitions. So you can see here it says muscular endurance is the ability of a muscle or group of muscles to sustain repeated contractions against their resistance for an extended period of time, which is very wordy, but this is exactly what VCA have written. The stuff I've got here should be fine as well, but if you want to be completely on the book, like the VCA approved definition, I recommend just going here, copying and pasting these into like a flashcard generator and just printing them out. Some of these are not required for this area of study, like physical activity is just something you hopefully know. But a lot of this is relevant to our exam and making sure that you understand them. There are also other documents there. So these include the FAQ page or advice with teaching HIIT, high intensity interval training. So a lot of students do struggle with that a bit. So if you are one of them, I recommend going to the VCA website and just opening that document and reading through it. Because that's also a really good resource which kind of helps you understand stuff. It's a bit more digestible because it is quite a big document, which just explains stuff in quite a lot of detail, so it's good. The FAQ page is also really good, not just for PE. The bio FAQ page is a really good doc. Like it really explains things which I think are quite complex, like respiration or immunity, like areas of immunity, which can be quite tricky. So making sure you do go back and like revise that concept or those concepts in that document. A lot of the time, you might be working through PE or bio or chemistry or whatever, and you go, wow, this area study is so difficult. How do I learn this? What is this? And if you go onto the VCA website, there might be a document actually designated towards it, or there'll be an actual question in the FAQ doc, because chances are someone else has actually thought the same thing and gone, wow, this is so difficult. And maybe asked VCA, or some teachers have contacted VCA and said they've actually gone, okay, we'll make an official document explaining this. Okay? Okay, so just a bit of a summary for the end of this little content section. For each of the fitness components, we must know a definition of the component. It doesn't have to be word for word, but learn one before the exam, which is why I recommend flashcards. The stuff we've gone through today isn't necessarily like complex. Like, hopefully you guys all understand what each of these words mean. And I know some of them are a bit like physiology or biomed seeming, but if you kind of break them down, I think they make sense. Like, reaction time, how fast you react to a stimulus, that makes sense to me. It feels logical. So I don't feel like there's a problem with this area study in understanding it, as opposed to an area like biomechanics, which is quite heavy on the learning. A lot of this is stuff which we do know. We just need to memorize the right definition for it. And so I think flashcards are the most effective thing, because just doing them every day in the lead up to the exams will help you like store it in your brain, and like you'll eventually start to like recite stuff. You'll go, oh, I know exactly what speed is. It's the ability or how fast you're able to move a body or body parts from point A to point B. Like, it helps you memorize stuff. It just saves it in your brain. Knowing factors which affect the components. Easy ones to remember: age and gender, and often genetics as well. These are just like applicable for most factors, particularly the health-related ones too. And often I find taking a step back. So if you're thinking about aerobic power, what can affect how good you are at cross-country running? Just go, oh, okay, well, if my parents were cross-country runners, I'm likely to be good at cross-country running also, which, like, my parents were into cross-country, so I prefer cross-country running as opposed to, like, sprints. So you can just, like, take a step back and apply it to your own life. Stuff which just makes sense logically, you can put that down as an answer and it's often right. Or, like, fat-free mass and fat mass, what can affect this? Just generally go, okay, diet and exercise can definitely affect this. And then understanding things like, okay, genetics is another one which can affect it. Or usually knowing, like, 2 or 3. 3 usually is a good number. 4, if you can, it's even better. But yeah, a lot of them are very logical. It says here activity analysis probably won't be a major part of the exam. Like, it says that here, as in you're not going to get like 10 marks on activity analysis usually, but you will get that 1 mark, almost guaranteed, whereby they ask you what is the first step of a training program, and it's going to be activity analysis every time. Okay, so there's one thing you take away from this entire, like the last hour we've just been doing this. Yep, an hour. Make sure you understand activity analysis is the first step in designing a training program, because it always comes up. So AA equals first step, because it's the first letter of the alphabet.